Try this trick and spin it. Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Tales from the Trailer Park. I'm gonna take a sip of my drink. I feel like taking a sip of my cheap cocktail is the right thing to do after that. Hang on a second. Okay. So, on today's episode of Tales from the Trailer Park, it's going to be about acid. It's going to be about my first time taking acid, or LSD. So, it was on a Friday, and I was probably 20 years old. And I remember working that day, super stoked to get out and just get really high, smoke a lot of weed, like me and my buddy Sean would always do. At this time, I was the dishwasher and I was the cook. So, and he was a cook too. We worked with a bunch of Micronesians. Holla to the Micronesian community. A lot of people don't know about them, but they're like a little bit smaller than Samoans. And some of them are still real fucking huge. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. My plug, Michael, who was a 17-year-old senior in high school, and he was pretty well off. I'm pretty sure his mom was like the superintendent of Midland. Anyway, why he was hanging out with a guy in the trailer park, I don't know, but he did. And he had some connections with some people in Chicago that would give him drugs. Anyway, he was out of weed, but he really needed to get rid of some acid. I found that out because I said, Michael, I would like to buy some weed from you this very fine Friday night. He said, I'm all out, but I'll give you some acid. I said, well, going from weed to acid's a pretty big jump, dude. I don't know. And he said, I'll give it to you for $3 a stamp. I said, sold. I will try acid for that cheap. Yeah, you might as well arrest me for not trying acid. Anyway, so I tell Sean we're doing acid, and it's my first time, and I'm like, well, dude, you know, Michael, how long does this stuff take to kick in? Should I take it now? He goes, well, you got about an hour left of work. Dude, I would just go ahead and pop it now. That stuff normally takes like 2 hours to kick in. I said, bet. So, me and Sean, it looked like a little postage stamp. We stuck one underneath our tongues. Michael was saying it's good shit because it's double dipped, yada, yada. And we're just excited. We're like, all right, we'll take it now. By the time we get done with work in an hour, we'll be back to his apartment. He lived in a place called Shattuck Apartments, which looks like a rundown motel by the railroad tracks on Bay City Road in Midland. So he goes ahead, pops his, I pop mine. And I think it was probably 30 minutes later, I had my manager run in. And my manager runs in, and her name was Yayoi. She goes, Taiwa, what you doing? What you doing? And I'm like, Yayoi, what are you talking about? What's wrong? And I was flooding the entire restaurant. I apparently lost track of time, and I plugged the drain in the dishwashing room of Asian Express, and since the drain was plugged, water was just continuously flowing out into the floor where people were eating. It was at that point I knew I fucked up. And then Sean runs in, and he goes, dude, I dropped a glass plate, and the glass was flying at me in slow motion. And I was like, oh no, dude, it did not take an hour to kick in or 2 hours to kick in. It was 30 minutes. And so we still got 20 minutes, 30 minutes left of our shift. And me and Sean just said, Yayoi, listen, we got to get the fuck out of here. And she's like, what do you mean? Sorry about the Asian accent if it pisses you off, but I feel like it helps tell the story. This wasn't an Asian American with an American accent. Okay, these are important details. I'm not racist, don't hate me. So now we hurry up, we jump in his car, and he probably lives 15 minutes away from Asian Express. So we're driving, and something weird happens on acid where people share each other's thoughts. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe somebody can help me out in the comments if that's happened with them. Anyway, we're driving and all of a sudden it looks like it's fucking snowing outside for both of us, which makes no sense because it was like, God, I think October. I mean, it was cold, but it definitely wasn't snowing. Anyway, we get back to his place. We're looking in the mirror and our eyes are just just black, just straight black. Our pupils have taken over our entire eyes. And this funny thing happens where it's like we're looking at each other, but we couldn't tell who was who. So that was crazy. And in Sean's, in the best of best thoughts you can have at that time, he goes, we need to throw a party. And you know what it's like when you're like, 21 or even like, even around that like area, like you got like 10 people to call at any given time to just come over and get shit-faced. So we get like, God, probably 20 people over to this tiny ass apartment. Me and him are both on acid. And all of a sudden we're sitting there drinking, da-da-da-da-da. And I think I was playing like Angry Birds on my phone at the time. Ambulances pull in, police cars pull in. And we're just like, that's it. We're going to jail, high on acid. This is going to be fucking terrible. And we go outside. We just kind of go outside and we peek our head out. And the neighbor, who was an elderly lady, was on a gurney going out to an ambulance. And Sean just goes, oh my God, we killed her. And I'm like, dude, there's no way we fucking killed her. How would we kill her? There's no fucking way. And he's like, okay, you sure we didn't kill her? I'm like, I had a hard time opening the door to get out of the apartment. There's no way we just went over there and killed the lady. And so we just both kind of start laughing. And I think it lasted for probably, I think I was up to like 3 a.m. I went to go eat some Oreos and milk. And then I remember spilling the milk. And that was at like probably 4 a.m. I was rubbing the carpet with the milk in it. And just watching really strange YouTube videos. That's my first time doing acid. I don't know what you guys are going to think about that. I don't know if that's good or not, but I never did it after that. That was enough for me. I had a good time, though.